Bozeman, Montana is a great place to live, but it's not all great. So in this video, we're going to dive into some of the pros and cons of living in Bozeman, Montana. So I moved to Bozeman in 2007, and I came here for MSU, Montana State University. I studied architecture here, and that's one of the first pros about living in Bozeman is that all of the schools are really great. So whether it's Montana State or even the high schools and elementary schools, there's no real bad schools to avoid. So your kids are going to get a great education, and it just creates a great community to live in when all of the schools are good. Speaking of schools, MSU here is an awesome university. It's a huge part of Bozeman. In fact, the student body here makes up almost a third of the population of Bozeman. They have awesome degrees like engineering, math, business. I went to school for architecture. It's really diverse. You can study pretty much anything you want here. And it's just a great part of our community, and it's a great, growing, thriving university. One of the cons of living in Bozeman is that there's a general lack of high-paying jobs. We're starting to see this change though, as more technology companies come into Bozeman, and even huge corporations are moving their headquarters here. In general, we have a lot of retail and tourism in Bozeman, fishing, guiding, all of the outdoor activities. We have obviously the university, the hospital, but that core is missing to where a lot of people are leaving the area in order to find better paying jobs in different parts of the country. So we do have a focus as a state right now to bring in more high paying jobs and increase the wages here for the people that live in Montana and in Bozeman. Another con of living in Bozeman is that housing is expensive. It's not the most expensive place to live in Montana, but in Bozeman city limits, the median house price is in the mid 600s and it's climbing. You can get a little bit more affordable housing if you go over to Belgrade, where the median price is just over 500 for a single family house, and even more relief if you go a little bit farther to Manhattan or Three Forks. But it's definitely an issue finding affordable housing here in Bozeman. There's a lot of new neighborhoods coming on, and the core of the issue is just supply and demand. So hopefully as we get more inventory, it'll at least stop the pain, stop that inflation of housing prices. But it's climbing rapidly, and it's definitely pricing people out of this market. One of my favorite things about Bozeman, and one of the biggest pros of living here, is that it's not overcrowded. So Bozeman's approaching about 50,000 people right now, a little over 100 in the entire county, but it makes it so that you're not stepping all over other people when you go out and enjoy it. You know, if you go to the park, you know, you're not gonna be right on top of everybody. If you go to like one of the more popular, like the M Trailhead, it's gonna be a little bit more congested depending on when you go. And up Highlight Canyon, there's quite a few people on the weekends, but once you get out of the parking lot, it's gonna be plenty of space. Traffic isn't bad. It's really, really not too crowded here. Some people have named it Bozeangeles, but really they're just being dramatic and they don't like change. So I don't put too much weight on that, but it's just a really nice place to live because it's not overcrowded. Bozeman's also a really safe community. We only have about 216 violent crimes to every 100,000 people, according to the FBI. Just to put that in context, on a national average, that's 380. So we're a really safe community. In fact, right now, I didn't even lock my car at the university. And that's just kind of the feeling you get here, is that you're safe. You don't have to worry about stepping on a needle in the park. There's not a big homeless population here, and it's just a safe place to live, to where people are gonna leave you alone and you just feel safe here. You don't have to have eyes in the back of your head. And it is truly a community where a lot of people still leave their doors unlocked at night. And that's just one of the benefits of living in Bozeman, is low crime rates. A major pro for living in Bozeman is this amazing downtown. We have all sorts of historic buildings here, and they're just full of restaurants and local mom and pop shops. You have everything from retail to hardware stores. There's a couple hotels down here, and it's just a really walkable downtown. Another cool thing they do is they actually shut this down several times a year, and they're gonna host concerts and social events, food and wine tastings, and my favorite, the Christmas stroll in December, which is this awesome time in downtown Bozeman. So if you're gonna be living here, downtown's where it's at. You need to check it out. Another con of living in Bozeman is that We're limited on our shopping, especially for clothes and specialty items. So a lot of people end up having to order stuff online or even drive to Billings or Missoula if you're looking for something specific. There's not a whole lot of chains for restaurants and stores here. So like another con would be that there's no Chick-fil-A, for instance. So come on, Chick-fil-A, let's get to Bozeman. Let's make that happen. A pro, though, to shopping in Bozeman is that there is no sales tax. So when you're shopping here, if it says $10, it's $10. You don't have to add on a local sales tax. But that also creates another con on that when the tourists come through, which it's a huge tourist town, and going down to Yellowstone National Park, they also don't pay a sales tax. So we have to make up somewhere where that tax comes from, and a lot of that burden falls on the property owners through property tax. So pro that you don't have to pay sales tax, con that we have to eat it somewhere else. One big pro of living in Bozeman is this airport. The Bozeman Yellowstone International Airport has been growing like crazy. We have a new terminal, we have a new parking garage, and most important, we have new flights. So this is the largest airport in the state, and it acts as a huge tourist hub going into Yellowstone and all over southwest Montana. Flights are also really affordable out of this airport. It's the largest airport in the state now, so you get good deals on flights and you can fly pretty much anywhere in the country that you need to. With all the growth that this airport has experienced, they're now actually expecting 1.9 million people to fly in and out of this airport this year, and it's only going to grow from there as southwest Montana becomes even more popular. One con of living in Bozeman is that there isn't much for public transportation. You do have the Streamline bus, and that's where I'm at right now. But outside of that, you have some Blink scooters, and there's not really much else. Bozeman's a very vehicle-dependent city, and with how far of a distance is in between towns in Montana, it's going to be a very vehicle-dependent town to live in. A lot of people ride bikes and walk and use Uber and everything like that, but at the end of the day, if you live in Bozeman, you're probably going to need a car. Now, obviously, Montana is known to be a beautiful state, and in Bozeman, that's no exception. So Bozeman sits in a valley that's just surrounded by mountains. So no matter what way you look, you have 360-degree views of some beautiful mountains. We have the Bridger Range behind me. You also have the Gallatin and the Tobacco Roots over there. And no matter what way you look, it's just awesome scenery. And that's just one of the best pros of living in Bozeman, is that no matter what way you look, you're going to be looking at some beautiful mountains. Now these mountains lead me to our next pro, which is that Montana and in Bozeman, it's an outdoor playground. Anything you want to do outdoors in the summer, it's here. So if you want to go hiking, if you want to go mountain biking, camping, dirt biking, all of it's here, and you can do it in the summer. We have some of the best trout fly fishing in the country, and it's just an amazing place to get out and enjoy the beautiful scenery of Montana. In the winter, we have some of the best skiing in the country, and it's just an amazing place to live. If you enjoy the outdoors, Bozeman's where you want to be. So this next one is both a pro and a con, and depending on what you personally like, it might be a pro in one way and a con in the other way, and it could flip-flop for somebody else, and that's the weather. So right now we're in June, and it's high 60s and just gorgeous. The birds are chirping, we got big blue skies, and it's just my favorite time of the year personally. The winter, on the other hand, it gets pretty harsh, but that's also some people's favorite time of year because of how much playing you can do in the snow. We're a fairly dry climate, so we get some of the best snow in the country. Low humidity makes better powder, so it's a really good atmosphere for snowmobiling and skiing and snowshoeing. We just get that fluffy powder that makes it a winter playground, so it's really nice here. Check out this video for more about the realities of Montana winter, but it gets every year well into the negatives, I'm not gonna lie to you. And a couple days a year, if not a couple weeks out of the year, it plunges into the double digits for negatives, you know, -20, -25, and those are below or before the wind chill. So it definitely gets cold here. If you don't like the cold, it might not be for you, but if you embrace it and find a way to enjoy it like most Montanans do, it's one of the pros or cons, depending on how you look at it. Another con of living in Bozeman is that we have to deal with fire season. Now, some summers are worse than others for fires, and some summers don't really have any at all. But it is a reality of living here, whether it's a local fire like the one that caught fire in the Bridgers just last year, or it's a neighboring state that's just pouring smoke into our state. Sometimes the air quality can get severe to where it's not safe to go outside, but that's typically short-lived. For the most part, you're gonna have nice blue skies that aren't filled with smoke, but every summer there is that chance, and it's more often than not that there's at least some fires nearby that you have to be conscious of. So when you're living in Montana and when you're living in Bozeman and you're out in the backcountry, you're enjoying these mountains, you do have to take extra precautions. Make sure your fires are put out and make sure that you're not flicking cigarette butts, because you can burn down an entire mountain. So just be careful when you're out there, and just be aware that we do live in an area that has a higher fire risk. So those are just some of the pros and cons about living in Bozeman. Make sure and put in the comments anything I missed. What do you like? What don't you like about Bozeman? And check out this video here. It's all about living in Montana, and we even hired a grizzly bear, so make sure and check that one out. Also, don't forget to subscribe, and if you're thinking about moving to Bozeman, or if you want to just talk about real estate or Southwest Montana, my info's in the description. I look forward to talking to you. I'll see you soon.